Recently I've given a lot of readings to people in relationships, and some principles have appeared, so I thought I'd give 4 of them in this video, 4 relationship tips. I hope they can be helpful. The first one is, inevitably in relationships people will have contretemps, they will have arguments, there will be times when harsh words are spoken and points want to be made and the feeling that the other one isn't really getting what you're saying. And so there's what I call the endgame card. In the whole pack of the ways and things that can happen in a relationship, one of those cards is the endgame card. So you slam it down and you go, well, that's it, and fuck off, right? So this card should be taken out of the pack and put in a drawer. And only you go to that drawer when you're calm. There may come a point where your relationship the time is for it to end, for whatever reason. But that should never happen in anger. That should never happen in the heat of anger. You should never use fuck off as a way of making your other point. Do you see what I'm saying? So keep the end game card, the end of the game card, keep that somewhere else. And never use that when you're having a heated argument. Only use it when everything's calm and you say, okay, and after a calm communication with agreements, then you say, okay, maybe it's time for us to part now. And then it will be real, then it will have power, then it will have choice. So many times people use that card, and because of pride, after a few minutes even, they don't feel that way anymore. But because of pride, they can't come back. So then they go through a whole thing, and then finally they get back, and then they break up and they get back, and they don't use that fuck off card. Only at the end, and only use it once. And maybe you don't even have to use it at all. So that's the first trick. Second one, it's very important to realise that when these differences come between people, there's a principle which is that people are never angry about what they're angry about. They're never angry about what they're angry about. So it could be, it's your turn to make the tea! You know? But that isn't really what they're angry about, the tea. So if you can remember that, you wouldn't then have to react about, well, I made it before you. You know, it's like, you wouldn't have to do that. You go, okay, well, really, what's going on here? And not have to take it personally. It's only when you take their anger personally that you get sucked in, have to create a narrative and the rest of it, and then it goes off. So they're never angry about what they're angry about. So what's really going on? And you can use literally those words. I know that you're not angry about words, so what really is it? And then you can inquire and bypass having to fight and react to someone else's anger. And along with that goes, when people are always talking about themselves, even when they're shouting at you. This is another one that's similar to people are never angry about what they're angry about. They're always talking about themselves, even when they're judging you. And if you can look at it that way, you can again have a sort of compassionate distance that doesn't allow you to get fully sucked in. The third one is a good one. When arguments happen and it gets heated and emotional and passions fly and harsh things are said, it's also a time when stories get told. How one person sees it and how the other person sees it. And of course, when you tell your story, it always makes you look good. Always. And it always makes them look bad. Always. And vice versa when they tell their version of what happened in any specific moment. And that should ring a bell for us. The fact that all our stories are always making us look right and always making them look wrong should ring a bell. Nothing comes out of a story that's really worth bothering with. And when you find yourself going at each other like this, the third big tip I reckon is just to cool that right down and go into listening mode. Listening mode is when someone says, oh, okay, hold on, this is going nowhere. We're hurting each other with these harsh words. I will now listen to what you've got to say for as long as you need to say it. I will listen to you, I will engage you in eye contact, I will calm my body language down, I will sit down and I will listen fully and completely to you for as long as you need to talk. If it takes an hour, whatever. However long you need to express yourself and all that you're feeling, I will listen to because I love you. And then the agreement is that the other person, when that without interruption is being listened to, will offer the same courtesy, will listen without interruption to the other one. This kind of communication where you're not playing ping pong at each other and tossing things at each other and not listening to each other, and while they're speaking you're thinking what you're going to say and you're waiting for that moment to jump in and put your point across, and actually nothing ever gets understood, nothing ever gets realised, nothing ever really moves from those kind of conversations. It's entirely different. When you are listening, when you listen, you return to a place. Initially your mind will be thinking, but after a while you see the person talking, you calm down and you start seeing something, and you afford that your partner the blessing, if you like, of your listening. And in your listening they hear themselves in your listening. Not everybody's listening is the same. We understand this, don't we? Not everybody's listening is the same. So in your listening, they hear themselves speak, and this helps them. And also there's another alignment that happens by just energetically. And then by the time you come to speak, after you've listened, you've reached a good place. Almost certainly you've put your anger down. And you've reached a good place inside yourself, and your reasonableness has returned. And your clarity perhaps has returned. And because you've been listening to the one that you actually do love, you've seen something in them while they were talking that reminded you. And then your response is beautiful. Then your response is much more likely to be appropriate. It's much more likely to be really dealing with what the issue actually is. And so this really works, this listening. So this is something you can choose to incorporate. In a relationship you need to build a culture of communication. A culture of communication is made out of agreements. And the agreement to listen, or to have, if it goes to escalates to a certain point, to go into listening mode, if you even just try it once, you will find that it works incredibly well. The fourth tip that seems to be emerging out of all these conversations that I've been having. It's not like I'm in the great relationship and this is how I've done it so fabulously. These are coming from many conversations with people about their relationships. And the fourth one is, don't characterise. It's like, there was a woman who called up the other day, and she wondered why she was keep getting dumped after the third date. And after a lot of unwinding, what it really became clear was that she was characterising the relationship. Oh well, now after the third date we should be talking about futures, getting engaged, what colour this and what colour that, and when's the wedding going to be, and don't characterise the relationship. In fact, don't characterise yourself. Just be who you are. Don't characterise your partner. Don't tell your partner who he is. Don't tell your partner who she is. It's really annoying. I do it. It must be really annoying. Telling people who they are. You don't have to characterise people. They know who they are. They live with themselves all the time. They don't need you to make characterizations of them. Don't fight over how you characterise the relationship. There is not a fixed way that the relationship actually is. So it's not a question like your version, your characterisation is the right one and his characterisation is the wrong one, or vice versa. There isn't a truth about it. It just is what it is, as you get it. For you, that's how it is. So this thing of characterising it, overthinking, chatting with friends. And really what happens is you've got to realise that all the people you enroll in your version of the characterization of the relationship, not all of them have got your best wishes at heart. It doesn't always help to enroll people into your version, you know, chattering about, oh yes he did, oh did he, no, yes he did, oh no, really, well, no. Forget all that. Don't characterize it. Leave everything free and spacious. Let there be lots of space in the relationship. Don't define it, because when you define it, then you're going to have arguments, because it's not, almost certainly the way you see it is not going to be the way your partner sees it. So don't characterize. It doesn't sound like it's very important whether you characterize or you don't characterize, but actually it is. Don't characterize yourself. You know, people say, who are you? And they list what they imagine to be their traits, their faults and the good things about them. Don't do that. That's not who you are. That's a fiction. That's a myth. Don't fictionalize the relationship either. Don't fictionalize or characterize your partner. Let him be a free spirit. If you fix him, it won't be who he is, and he'll feel uncomfortable or hurt. Accept yourself exactly as you are. Accept your partner exactly as they are. Accept the relationship exactly as it is. Accept is so powerful. Acceptance is so powerful. So accept and don't characterize. And you'll find that there's a space there. And then things can flow and change and come and go. And gently, with a new kind of mode and agreements about communicating, things can kind of stabilize. And then a natural trust unfolds. And then you're not generating or planting seeds for future misery. You're in fact planting seeds for more and more stabilization, more and more openness, more and more honesty, more and more communication, more and more ease, and more love.